welcome back to every NG, where we give you everything you need to know on everything that's happening in the entertainment world. We're talking gossip, reality TV, life after reality TV, the whole 9 years here for you. My name is Judith, and I am bringing to you today BBNaija Lockdown highlights, brought to you by every of course. Now, we've been going through these highlights from day 1, and now we are in day 60. Yes, we are close to the end, just entering the last week. And I decided to bring you all, up to speed on what happened in the house for those of you who forgot, and just to remind you that these housemates were actually very dramatic. Now, day 60, we start off knowing that Kidwire and Prince are out of the house. Now, if you remember last week, Kidwire was saying, oh, they're trimming the fat. Those of us that are here were the strong ones now. Confidently, he moved out of the house on Sunday. Now, after that, there was a task as well, and Ozo won that task. It was the task from the automobile company, and he won himself a car. Like, sweet ride. Yes, and you can even see, like, when he was celebrating, Nengi was there just beside him. Where there's the driver seat, and then the first passenger seat, Nengi was just there smiling, ear to ear, grinning ear to ear. I'm like, oh wow, okay, let's move on from that. So after talking about that, the win, we go back to where Nengi and Lekon were discussing being in the house, counting down to the final days, just trying to give themselves hope. When both of you are tense, but you just don't want to show. So they were just discussing stuff, saying that, oh, there's a whole lot of work outside the house. And then, Lekon asked Nengi, what do you miss? And Nengi was like, oh, I don't really miss anything. I miss people, like my family, my friends, but I don't miss anything particularly. Well, Lekon said he missed making songs, recording in the studio. And then he was like, oh, you can make songs now. And then what Lekon said was literally so hilarious. But I think he meant it because for some reason, Lekon did not really drop any new piece. He wasn't really focused on creating new music while in the house, although he had ample time. So he was like, I should be making songs so that I'll dash Big Brother free music. And then, ooh, is there something you're telling us? So yeah, that was how that conversation went. And then that same day, the housemates had a task from the noodles company. Now, this was the second time they were getting a task from the noodles company, and this time around it wasn't as a team, because the first time they worked as teams, team of 2, but this time they were just working individually, obviously, because they're just like 7 people left in the house. So the task was really, first of all, to pick a moderator for the task, they had to perform like a mini task. So they were supposed to go fit their faces to the best words that describe them. So basically on the board, you see maybe caring, passionate, feisty, and then you're supposed to find the words that suit you, that describe you perfectly, and put your face against it. Now after that, they moved on to tossing rings. That game that we play when we were small, that game that you have to toss as many rings into the fish mouth as possible. Yeah, that was kind of game they played. And fortunately, because I have to say this, because Neo had been complaining since the beginning of the house that he hasn't won anything big. Fortunately, Neo won this round, and he was the moderator for the day. Also, he doubled as Big Brother's assistant, and in addition, just to give him a little bit of motivation, because when Big Brother announced that, oh, he had won and they didn't put any monetary values to the win, he was just like, oh, okay, cool, like, thank you. And then Big Brother was like, oh, you seem a little bit, down. To motivate you and the others, I'm going to give you, or we are going to give you 500k. If you see the way Neo's face just went from to like, he was so excited. He's like, yes, when they say money gives motivation, it's not a joke. It's not a joke, because Neo was hyperactive that day. So yeah, he got himself 500,000 naira, along with the role of playing assistant Big Brother and all that. So the task presentation came. So what they were supposed to do was make food with certain ingredients and also dress to show their personality. Now they'll present this food, put it on a round table, and then everybody with blindfolds, of course, would taste and figure out if you got the recipe that you were supposed to prepare with the ingredients provided for you. So of course they did the tasting, and Neo is a terrible moderator, because Biggie literally said, oh, take a fork, like a spoon. And then if someone now tries to take a second, like, come on, drop it. That kind of thing. So yeah, they finished the task, and they went home. Neo actually won big with that task. It was good. Dora was among the least, she got the least winnings. Was among the people that got the least winnings. And we just went into the house. Like, usually people would win and some people would lose. It's a normal thing. But that day, Dora and Trikiti actually clashed. Now, what happened was, after the task, I think Dora was complaining about, her win, and saying that, oh, she only got 300k, even after she tried everything. And Trikiti was like, 300k for cooking noodles, and you're complaining, what kind of sore loser are you? And next thing, Dora was like, how would you call me a sore loser? And next thing, insults here, insults there. I'm just like, oh my God, guys, let go of this thing. It has happened. The person who has won, and the people who lost. So there's no big deal about it. But they actually clashed for a bit. And Dora was really, you could tell that being called a sore loser really got to her because she was upset. She was even talking about it after they left the room, even after Tricky left. So, but funny thing is, those housemates are very hilarious because they are fighting this minute and they are making up. They didn't carry their beef over like to the next week or something. Because just briefly after, we were shown Tricky T and Dora having a conversation. Now, Dora was complaining about Lekon, saying that Lekon is very, what's the word? She said clingy, and she said that he acts like a child, like a pest, that he will be around you and he'll be wanting to touch you. Meanwhile, when they first started showing that conversation, I'm like, why are you gossiping about Lekon? But apart, when we saw a wider range of the bed where they were staying, Lekon was just by the corner. They're still pinching Tricky. The same thing Dora was complaining about, saying that he's a pest and all whatnot, but he was there as well. Now, Biggie also called them in for their nominations. Now, this was nominations into the last week. And if you watched the lockdown season, you know that this was a very intense one. Like, the mathematics that people did, the calculations, especially you see V and Neo, those people, I cut cap for them because of these. The nominations it quickly turned into something that it wasn't supposed to be. Based off what people were saying and the suggestions they were making, somehow Neo and V made it work for them, and they made it into the finals. Like, can you imagine? They made it into the finals. But anyway, let's discuss that later. So, nominations, Big Brother was asking Team Black and Team White, because they were divided into two teams, to talk about their nominations. And most of them were saying, look, it's just strategic, nothing personal. Of course, we're going into the last week, so everybody's trying to run their own personal race. We're not really bringing friends into this. So, yeah, that was how, they explained their nominations. Now, before we ended day 60, Ozo and Nengi again. See, if you're praying for consistency, pray to be like Ozo. I kid you not. Pray to be like Ozo, because Ozo was so consistent. Even after Nengi had told him, look, I'm tired of these conversations. I don't want to be with you. At least not now. Let me be. Give me space. I want to breathe. Ozo was like, nope, me and you together forever. So after the nomination conversation with Big Brother, Ozo went back to talking to Nengi, just saying, look, I really want to be with you. I'm sure Nengi was even like, save me, somebody. But yeah, that was how we ended off day 60. Now let's move into day 61, because more things began to unfold in day 61. More conversations were had, and then we finally knew the people that were up for eviction. First off, the highlights for that day started with V and Lekon discussing. And now let me give you a little bit of a backstory. V broke up with Neo towards the end of the show, if you remember. And of course, it had to be one of their food fights, something like that. And throwing back to the actual fight that caused the breakup, I remember Neo was saying a whole lot. He was saying so many things to V, and V was like, look, you're going to beg me, you're going to come back. Neo was like, I'm done with you, V, I'm done with you. Laughs in Christmas pictures. But anyway, so yeah, after that conversation, V decided to talk to Lekon because he's like the closest friend to the couple. And she was just saying that, look, I don't want to get back together with him. I don't want to talk to him. Because obviously, at this point, Neo had gotten back to his senses and he came begging as we expected. But V was actually standing her ground. She's like, see, I actually need to think, because going outside this house is going to hold a whole different ballgame for the both of us. We don't even know how we're going to handle our lives moving forward, not talk of handling ourselves together. So this was exactly what she was telling Lekon. And she also gave a little bit of spicy secrets here and there. She was telling Lekon that they were this close to getting intimate so many times, but somehow Neo had self-control and had to stop. And Lekon was like, so, I mean, obviously, this guy likes you. I'm like, nah, by that one. But yeah, after that conversation, they quickly moved on to something else. And then somehow, Tolani Badge came into the conversation. Now, if you know how Tolani Badge left, you know that obviously V wasn't going to smile about anything related to Tolani Badge. Because I remember very well, Lekon asked her, oh, what do you think Tolani Badge is doing now? Because he was asking for other housemates as well. And then V was like, Kilo coming, like, what's my business? What concern me? And then, they started talking about Tolani Badge. And V was obviously hurt from what happened. Tolani Badge indicating interest in her man, despite being her sister girl, that kind of thing. Like, they were so close. So V was like, I can't even believe somebody that I considered my friend did that to me. And even Prince was trying to back her up. She just bared her mind on how she felt about it. But yeah, Tanani is out. Everybody's moving on with their lives. So there's no need to hold things to your chest. But V wasn't hearing that, obviously. So now after that, we moved to the scene where Ozo was playing doctor. Who knew that Ozo would be a first aid attendant, or he was with the Red Cross or something? Because Nengi had an injury, and obviously, who else will attend to her if not Ozo? He was trying to help her tend to the wound, put in spirits, and Nengi was like, oh no, stop, it's going to be painful. I'm just like, what's going on here? What's going on with the both of you? But yeah, he helped her to tend to that wound, and that was really kind, that was really sweet, because other people would have just left her to attend to herself, like sort herself out, but Ozo is very attentive. The romantic man I stand. But yeah, so after that, Neo went into the dining area. All the housemates kind of went there to gist, and he dropped something that most people did not know until the point where he said it. He said that there was this time that Biggie had announced to the housemate that he had like 5 minutes or so to get ready and move out of the house, and then he and Brighto jumped into the shower to quickly, have their bath and all whatnot. Big brother now be like, housemates, you have 5 minutes or something like that. And he was running late, obviously, so was Brighto, so both of them jumped into the shower together because both men, nobody really cares. But one thing that really surprised him was the fact that Erica jumped in with them as well because she was running late, and he was so surprised. Like, if you see Neo narrating what happened, he was like, Omo, I just did look, I don't even feel look my side. And they asked Brighto, what's in there? So hilarious when he was narrating it. And then it was so funny because V was just seated on his thighs and he was saying it, and you could tell that V was like, what is going on here? But Neo quickly, cleared up everything. He's like, look, I didn't look, nothing happened, just to be safe, because I'm still trying to get you back as my girlfriend, So yeah, that was what he said. But the housemates had the task that day as well, and it was a make a difference task. That's what it was called. But for short, it was called the mad task. Now the task was supposed to be, they were doing that task the week before, obviously. And it was supposed to be, putting forward the projects that they wanted to work on and kind of pitch as though they were looking for investors and funding for their NGO project. So we had, the gender-based violence, we had food security, and then we had the sports development. Now, sports development had Lekon and Ozo. Gender-based violence had Nengi and V, while Dora, Trikiti, and Neo were in the food security. And after, their introduction, the task was divided into 3 parts. Introduction, then debate why, my NGO deserves the funding more than the other NGOs. And then finally, it was like the pitch. Now, this was not you arguing with the other NGOs. This was now you saying, look, I'm talking to you, my investor. So they actually performed really well. So after everything, sports development won. That was Ozo and Lekon. So yeah, they got that prize. Now after that, where the housemates went back, like the thing is, this last week they were actually so bored. Like you could tell that, less people in the house, were just 7. There was really nothing to do. And I was like, if you people are 7 and you're feeling this way, I can imagine what will happen in the final week when it's just 5 and nobody feels the need to maybe be active for the fans or all those things. Like everybody can actually mind their business and do their thing. Now, 7 in the house, they were bored. They just basically went to lie down till evening. Now, evening time, they were having dinner, So Lekon was eating with V and Neo, and next thing Lekon was like, hold on a minute, Ozo is not here. Now Nengi is head of house for that week, but she wasn't allowed to, replace anybody, save, that thing that happened in season 4 where they were allowed to save somebody and replace with another person. They didn't have that opportunity, but she could get a guest into the head of house lounge as usual, and Ozo was her guest. But as usual, the rule was this guest cannot sleep over. Ozo had broken so many rules. Ozo was on 2 strikes, like he was standing on 1 leg, actually half leg, because 1 strike and you're gone, whether you're making it to the finals or not. So it was really a trying time for the house because they were trying so hard not to make Ozo go home from disqualification. I mean, he just got himself a car, and if he gets disqualified, that car gone, everything gone. So they just had to, be their brother's keeper at that point. So when they were eating, Lekon was like, look, Ozo is not here, he's with Nengi, please, you people should go and make sure that he doesn't sleep there. And Lekon was hammering on it and hammering on it and hammering on it. And Tricky was like, calm down, the guy knows what he's doing. And Lekon was like, last time didn't he know what he was doing, and he stayed there and got himself a strike. And then we were like, okay, true, because even Tricky was hammering the last time, but Ozo still insisted and got himself a strike. So after every deliberation that they had to do at the dining, Laycock kept insisting, go and call Ozo, go and call Ozo, go and call Ozo. V actually had to stand up. She went there, she like, check in, because she peeked in through the door and she saw Nengi and Ozo discussing, and she's like, look, Ozo, we are just watching out for you, you know. Once you are done, the minute you start feeling sleepy, the minute sleep knocks, just stand up, jeje, and come to your room. Leave this head of house lounge, it's a temptation. So Ozo was like, definitely, I'm going to come, we're just discussing. And then V was like, okay, cool. So she went back to report to the other housemates that, don't worry, Ozo is good, he's going to come, he's wide awake, he's not tipsy, none of that. So yeah, look at them looking out for themselves. Such cuties, such peaceful people. But after that, you know, Biggie, do you know Big Brother is very tricky? And I'll say this because while so many other housemates were in the house, they were calling for the jacuzzi to be open. They were like, Biggie, we brought our swimsuit. People that said, I'm keeping it for my final 7. Yes, because the jacuzzi was actually open to the final 7 housemates. And then Tricky was so excited, like I don't know the dance that boy was doing. If you know Tricky, ask him what prompted him to dance like that, because it was so hilarious. Tying his blue towel and dancing by the pool, just having the time of his life. And then you see Lekon and Nengi there doing their own party rocks. Nobody in their own world. V wasn't entering the water because she didn't like, you know, being in water. But Dora was there, Neil was there as well. They were just having fun, just chilling, doing their own thing. So yeah, that was basically how it ended, you know, day 61. But the people that were up for eviction ended up being Laycon, Dora, Ozo, and Tricky T. While we were watching this the first time, we knew that this was tough competition. We just knew that, look, only God will save certain people, especially Tricky T, because of the 4 people that were up for eviction, he was kind of the weakest to say. So most people knew that Tricky was going that Sunday, but you know, it was not okay. Ozo, Dora, what exactly is going to happen? Because at that point, Lakers fans were sure that, look, nothing is happening to our guy, he's staying. And this was what I was telling you in the first day, like day 60, that V and Neo played, they just manipulated the game to suit them. So, and it was just it happened so fast. But like I said, I cost cap for them because that was really smart. That was a smart move that they played. So yeah, we've come to the end of day 61 of the BBNaija Lockdown highlights. Thank you so much for joining me. It's always so much fun and it's a pleasure to bring you these highlights. And until next time, my name is Judith and this is brought to you by Every NG.